Let's begin. Here's what it takes to get into the top 10% of men, and as a spoiler alert, it really isn't that hard. The first thing I want to say is that most guys are literally losers. Most guys are genuinely just complete, utter losers. And I put this here, right, because it's just a genuine truth, right? Let me get this pen. 90% of guys get no play. And I'm not saying that as an exaggeration, I'm being genuinely honest. 90% of guys in this generation literally get like no play from girls, no opportunities to like do serious things. And I just wanted to start off with this because it is genuinely a harsh truth that not a lot of young guys realize. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I basically made, right? And I think it's pretty cool. And I call it the 90% man job description, right? This is the average guy basically, right? This is the description of an average guy if he had to do like a job interview or something, right? He would scroll on TikTok and Reels multiple hours a day. He would eat shitty junk food almost every day. And instead of finding a relationship or basically being casual, he'll replace intimacy with porn, which is disgusting. And if you do that, I don't want to be around you. And then to add to that, he'll party every weekend. He'll drink multiple times a week. Obviously, these two things go together. Partying every week and then drinking, which obviously isn't great, especially if you're doing it multiple times a week. If you're doing it here and there, then I don't really have an issue with that. I think it's actually acceptable if you do it like once every while or you party once every while. But if you're doing it every week, like, what are you doing, bro? Come on. And then obviously these two things are the bigger things that are obviously a bit more concerning. When a guy has no level of ambition and he doesn't have any goals for himself, that's where things can become problematic. Average guy has no levels of ambition. And then he also has no long-term goals, which is obviously a really, really bad thing. Any high performer, any guy who's doing well in any field will always have some level of ambition, and then he will also have long-term goals. So yeah, this is the average guy. And then to add to that, they won't speak to any girls, which is directly in line with this, right? Which when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. If I can draw an arrow. If you don't speak to girls, you're obviously going to be replacing intimacy with porn, which is disgusting. And then obviously on top of that, most guys go to sleep like at 2 or 3 a.m. It's quite stupid, right? You're fucking up your like circadian rhythm. You're not getting good restful sleep. Literally, the average guy lives a life like this. And if you don't want to be like an average guy, you need to stop doing these things. It's as simple as that, which is basically what I go into on the next slide, which I put. Getting into the top 10% is so easy. Like, so many guys don't really realize how easy it is. Like, it genuinely is this easy, right? If you don't want to be like 90% of guys, you literally just need to stop doing what 90% of guys do, right? Which is all of these bad habits that I've listed, right? Obviously, there could be more, there could be less, but these are like 90% of what guys do, right? Some of these things you can do here and there, like for example, eating junk food and stuff. Like if I go on a date with a girl or I go out with someone, I might grab a pizza, I might grab like a burger or something, but I'm not doing this shit every day, right? If you don't want to be like an average guy, you need to stop doing these things, have some level of ambition, have a long-term goal, start speaking to more girls, start being more confident, start going to sleep at like a regular human time, like at 10 p.m. instead of going to bed at like 3 or 4 a.m. like a zombie, right? So yeah, I mean, it's about doing the right things for yourself. And what you'll actually notice is that when you actually care about yourself and you show yourself some level of appreciation, you'll naturally just stop doing these things anyway, which is really important, which is what I wanted to talk about. So yeah, number one super most important thing, right, is just stop doing bad habits as a general rule of thumb. I think this is just common sense. You just need to stop doing bad habits, especially the ones that are self-destructive, which is basically what was on the list before. But yeah, just stop doing bad habits, improve your life. That's why I've highlighted it in red, right? It's super important. So if you don't take anything else from this video, just stop doing the bad habits. Obviously with that, right, you want to also get really good at something. So along your journey of improving yourself and doing the right things, you obviously want to get really good at something, which is where you get your credibility, which is where you get your success from. There's something else I'm going to note about this, and it's that loads of people get tripped up and they focus on this first instead of this. They'll like disregard this. I can't even draw an X. They'll disregard this and then they'll focus on this, right? Which is like a really bad thing. You don't want to do that. You want to do this alongside this, or better still, you want to do this first and then do this. After you've moved away from a lot of these bad habits, right, which is what I've done, you want to get really good at something. I would argue you should get really good at something, at least one thing, get really good at one thing, whether that's building an amazing physique, whether that's building a business or pursuing a career. Career is a bit more difficult because unless you really know what you want to do, there's literally like no point in trying to pursue a career, because obviously you have to go down like the rabbit hole of going to uni and shit, which I'll probably talk about in another video as to why that's not the best decision, especially in this economy and in this part of society. But yeah, definitely just focus on one of these things. I think it's important that you do both of these. So like you build an amazing physique and you do like some form of business to get your money in. I think that's the perfect scenario, but just get really good at something. Like if you're watching this and you're a young guy, building amazing physique is the best thing. Let me take this. This will give you the biggest ROI. Like literally building an amazing physique will give you like the biggest ROI. You just get the best of both worlds, right? You get respect from other men, you get attraction from girls, you get every single positive benefit of this, and just people can respect you. Like if you've got a good physique and you've got like a powerful masculine physique, people respect you, guys respect you, girls get wet. I'm joking. That might be true, who knows? So definitely do one of these things. A business is probably secondary. Like I'd get a really good physique first, become really athletic, and then naturally you want to get your money up and stuff. And then yeah, I put this at the bottom, right, because this is so interesting. Getting really good at a combat sport is probably one of the most fun experiences a guy has. Like if you're doing boxing or MMA, it's probably one of the funniest things that you can do, right? Especially if you get good at it. If you get good at fighting, it's just one of the most fun things that you can do. And it's like the best form of cardio. Like that and sex is like the best. Like I wouldn't replace it with anything else. You get really good at something, maybe do boxing, maybe do MMA, build a business, build an amazing physique, and you'll just have like an amazing life. If you find me a guy who's good at all three, right? He's got an amazing physique, he has a business and he makes money and he's really good at like boxing or a combat sport, you found me like a top 10% performer right there. Make sure you focus on moving away from the bad habits and then do these things. It will make you super attractive. And speaking about attraction, there's something I want to talk about, right? And it's another harsh truth, right? Like I put a harsh truth here, there's another harsh truth, right? Women only choose the winners, by the way. Women only choose the winners. Like literally this graph, right? It perfectly highlights what this looks like, right? These are like the top 20% of guys, right? So 90, 100, right? Top 10%. These guys are all invisible, right? If you can see. And it gets in, they increase in invisibility as you go down, right? No one knows who these guys are. It's always the top 10% of guys that are getting all the results, right? They're getting the most attraction from girls. They're getting the most attention from basically everyone, right? So it's super important that you do these things because from a relationship like point of view, you're probably one of the most attractive guys. And on top of that, it's just super, super beneficial. If you're probably wondering why no girls like you and you get no play from women, it's probably because you're here. It's probably because you're in like the bottom 80% of men. And most guys, like I said here before, are doing these things. If you stop doing these things, you start training more, you start building a business, you start doing the right things for yourself, you will find success. So yeah, this is just a true statistic. Girls only date the top 10% of guys, if not more. Like it says here, women prefer to pair up with a man with better genetics, income, or social status, which is very, very true. So yeah, if you have good social status, you have good physique, which is your genetics, then you'll fit into this category, but you also need to build money and then become a guy of status as well. So yeah, and then we go to the next slide, right? Right, this is the biggest take-home message you can have from this whole video, and this is the reason why I've left it last, right? You pick the life you want. You genuinely just pick the life you want. Right? You either move away from bad habits, you craft the life you want, you build a sexy physique here, like Jeff Sides here and David Lade. You craft the life you want, you build a sexy physique and you have complete freedom, right? Where you can travel, right? You can see these people like traveling. You can have food like this every single day. You'll have status, you might be doing content like I am, right? You might be building a personal brand. These images literally encapsulate the life that you could live, right? Or you'd be like the average guy, you stay trapped in bad habits, you feel low energy all the time, you make zero progress, and no one respects you. I don't know about you, I wanna live this life here, not this life, right? And if you have any level of respect for yourself, and you have any level of ambition, and you have sufficient levels of testosterone, you will agree with me and you wanna live a life like this, right? I think it's really important that as you go through this journey of improving yourself, you start to find more and more purpose with moving away from these habits, because I think everyone in this generation is struggling with at least one of these things. Very few people who, if any people, who have moved away from from all of these things, right? The most important thing you can learn from this video is that you move away from these bad habits, especially if you're doing them every single day. They'll destroy you, right? And then alongside that, you're building a life where you're building an amazing physique, right? You're potentially pursuing a business or a career, right? And then you're getting really good at combat sport. If you find me a guy who's moved away from bad habits, doesn't do any of these things, right? Or at the very least does these things occasionally, and then you also find me a guy who's got an amazing physique, has a business where he makes like 10K a month, and he's also really good at a combat sport like boxing or MMA, you're finding me like not even a 10% guy. That guy's like a top 5%, right? He's not like the average man, and he very easily goes to 10. And as you can see here, every single girl here, this is how dating is now. Every single girl here every single one goes for a guy that's up here. So that's how important this is. You pick the life you want. I'm probably going to make more videos like this in the future. I really enjoy making these videos. Like, the feedback I get from a lot of young guys is very, very positive. They're like, Raihan, you make such good messages, and you help me out a lot. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video to talk about how, if you want to get in the top 10% and you want to really make progress in your life, it's not as hard as it seems. You might see all these influencers talking about how it's difficult and stuff. It's really not that hard. If you move away from bad habits, which is the biggest driver, I'd say like 80% of the driver, and then you start building a good thing, you'll make a lot of progress in life. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video to any young guy that needs it. I'll probably have another video coming out next week. If you've watched this video, I'd really appreciate if you like it, by the way. It tells the algorithm that my videos are good, and it also helps as many young guys as possible. As always, there's always one last thing I say before the end of every video. Always strive for excellence, because great things will come your way.